A man left town M at 10 a.m. and traveled by car to another town N at an average speed of 72 km per hour. He spent 2 hours for a meeting, returned to town M by bus at an average speed of 40 km per hour. If the distance covered by the bus was 2 km longer than that of the car, and he arrived at town M at 11:55 p.m., the question asked is to calculate the distance from M to N. And this is the question. So let's attempt to answer this question. Solution to this. So what I'll do first is to let X, what I'm asked to find, the distance from M to N, that is the distance going. He started from M, town M, and moved to town N. So it's that distance that I should find in the question. So if I let it to be X, then the distance returning, that is N to M, of course it's supposed to be same distance, but if you take another different route, the distance could be different. In the question it says if the distance covered by the bus, meaning the distance while returning back to town M, is 2 km longer. Look at it in this question, 2 km longer than that of the car. So distance returning, he returned by bus, and that distance is 2 km longer, so I'll add 2 to the distance going, that is X. So distance returning will be X plus 2. So I continue. So I'll now get the total time taken for the two journey, meaning going and coming back. He arrived back, or he returned back at 11:55 p.m. So I will now subtract the time that he left, meaning the 10 a.m. and the time he spent in the meeting. After he reached town N, he went there for a meeting, and the meeting took 2 hours. So I also subtracted that 2 hours time taken for the meeting. So after subtracting these two values will now give me the total time spent going and coming back. Remember 11:55 p.m. is nothing but 13 hours 55 minutes. So I'm going to subtract 10 hours. I'm subtract 2 hours. So at the end I'm subtracting a total of 12 hours from 13 hours 55 minutes. This gives me 1 hour 55 minutes. This is the total time taken for going and coming back. So I continue. So time taken going, let me get the time taken going. Remember time in relation to speed and distance. Time going will now be equals to X over 2. X is the distance going, meaning the distance from M to N, and the speed in the question with which that he go from M to N is 72 km per hour. Look at it. So dividing distance by speed will give me the time taken going. Similarly, the time returning, time taken while he returned, will now be the same concept. I will divide the distance by the speed. The distance is X plus 2. Look at it. And the speed while coming back by bus is 40 km. Look at it also here. So I'll have X plus 2 all over 40. So this is the time taken returning. But I have the total time taken for the two journey. So I will now have total time. It will now be equals to time going plus the time returning. So I'll have X over 72 plus X plus 2 all over 40. This is the time taken by bus while returning, and this is the time taken by car while going. And this total time is nothing but 1 hour 55 minutes, the total time. So I will now substitute 1 hour 55 minutes equals to, I will just copy this right hand side, X over 72 plus X plus 2 all over 40. So I continue. So expressing this in hour, this is 1 hour 55 minutes. I'll have something that 115. I converted everything to minute divided by 60. This fraction will now be in hour now. I have changed this hour and minutes back to hour completely. Remember, it's 60 minutes in 1 hour. So 115 all over 60. This will now be in hours. And I added these two fractions. Adding the addition of these two fractions correctly give answer 14x plus 18 all over 360. 360 is the LCM of 72 and 40. So if I continue to solve this equation, it will give me my x, which I'm asked to find a distance from m to n. So cross multiplying, I will now have that is 60 times 14x plus 18 will give 840x plus 1080, and 115 times 360 will give 41,400. Collected like terms, I will now have 840x equals to, I have taken this 1080 to the right hand side and subtract it, so there I have 40,320. So next is to divide both sides by 840. Division for both sides by 840, I will now have x to be equals to 48 kilometers. So the distance from m to n is now 48 kilometers. So with this I have answered this question also. So let me see the mark distribution according to the Waec marking scheme for this very question. On the first mark is the M mark, meaning the method mark, where I attempt to get the total time taken for the journey. So subtracting these two times the 10 hours and the 2 hours, writing that to have M1 mark, meaning method mark, and getting 1 hour 55 minutes accurately, you have another A1 mark, that is the accuracy mark, and getting the time going. In terms of x, you have B1, this is bonus mark, and getting the time taken returning is another bonus 1 mark. This must be accurately written. Then for the total time now, meaning writing this, the total time x over 72 plus x, correctly you have method mark. Then solving this correctly, you have M mark. Collected like terms is M mark, and dividing both sides by 2 by coefficient of x to get x, you have accuracy mark 48, so you have another A1 mark. So if you count, you have a total of 8 marks. This is according to the Waec marking scheme. This question 2 carries 8 marks in total.